Welcome to Spotlight. I'm your host, Amitha. Join me weekly as we inspire you with guests who will share their success stories and transformational events. Being multifaceted is an asset in today's world for progress and for success. Our guest today will help us realize this. From banker to business owner to professor to business coach, mentor to social innovator, and much more. He's the co-author of The Giving Back Economy. It's my pleasure to welcome to our show, Mr. Peter Miller. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
Well, I'm excited to find out about your career span. It's so interesting. Tell us a little bit more.
Well, I graduated with an MBA, and then I joined CIBC, large Canadian bank, and I moved through the ranks and became an assistant general manager. And then I had the opportunity to early retire and pursue one of my passions, which was to start businesses. And I started 6 different businesses. And at the same time, I decided I wanted to go into the education area. And so I took that passion to Centennial College and Seneca College, where I taught entrepreneurship. And I taught online MBA students in strategic management and global business. And then while I was doing that, I also did coaching and workshops for unemployed people who wanted to start a business. And I also ran a summer company program for students who wanted to start and run a business over the summer. And they get $3,000 to grow and develop that summer company business. And then I did a number of volunteer activities, including Red Cross and helping new immigrants find jobs in the academic area. So it's been a very varied career. And then 4 years ago, I re-retired. I took a day off and I got bored. And I got into a social innovation challenge where 54 people pitched a social innovation idea. And I ended up coaching some of those after they got awards and so on. And since then, we've grown into a very different organization, which I think we'll cover in our next segment.
Awesome. Wow, this is quite interesting. Now, I have to ask you, you already probably answered this, like when you sat still doing nothing, you couldn't do it because you have so much creativity within you. And is that why the shift happened from one career to the next, or it was just because you saw the need for change in the community that inspired you to do that?
Well, from the bank situation, the politics became very heavy. And I had always wanted to start my own business. So the two combined together, it came at the right time.
Okay, nice.
And then the teaching, that was by accident.
Okay.
Somebody said, with your experience, have you ever thought of teaching? And of course, I said no. And she said, I want to take you down and introduce you to the chair of the department.
I love it, though. You said no first, but you still didn't say, you still went for it, because when somebody put that idea in your head,
it was
going to explore.
That might be interesting.
Interesting. I just have to ask you there. Now, you were a professor teaching all these millennials who tend to have a lot of slash careers, like simultaneous careers. So you're somebody who has done, careers, transition over time, but you see millennials today doing a lot of multitasking and simultaneous careers. What is your take on that? Which way is it better to go, or is there no good way? You choose your own.
For millennials today, they're very big on corporate social responsibility and giving back. So they're looking for jobs a little different than what my generation looked for.
Well said.
They're looking for organizations that support things like sustainability. And they're a different group and they're a different kind, but and they realize that full-time, long-term careers aren't usually going to happen. And so they have to be prepared for contract work or short-term stays and always looking for the next potential job.
Well said. Now, I must say then you are a man of the future in your times, because there's a lot of people I know that get stressed out. Sometimes they feel like they're tied down to one career and that's it for life. And even though they may have that passion within them for something else, they don't go trying. But so you are the man of the future in your times. You have actually kind of paved the way for many, and it kind of speaks of the times right now where the millennials think that way. That's amazing. Did you have any challenges along the way?
Oh, many challenges.
Okay.
Starting with 3 kids.
Wow, okay.
And one thing I did learn is I know there's this thing out there that says Freedom 55. Mm-hmm. When you can retire at 55. Well, I had to change that where you are free when your kids are 55.
Okay,
Until then, you're the bank and parrot.
Very well said. No, so we are going to find out more about that, because you just talked to us about the corporate social responsibilities that most of the millennials have in them automatically, but you are pushing towards that with your social innovation, and we want to find out more. But before that, it's time for a short break. Welcome back to Spotlight. We are talking to the multifaceted Peter Miller. So wow, the career span is very interesting, but now let's dive right into what you are in the hub of right now, which is social innovation. First of all, define it for us in your own words.
Social innovation is coming up with an idea that contributes towards solving a problem. And whether that's a health problem, whether it's an economic problem, there's a variety of areas. Medicine is obviously one of those areas, but it's defining the problem first, then finding a solution, and the solution must include giving back to the community. And that can be through a for-profit, a nonprofit, or a charity.
Very well said. Now, what inspired you to come to it right now? Like, because you have had many interesting careers along the way, but finally, right now, you're focusing on social innovation. Why that?
Social innovation started with a social innovation challenge in Toronto, where we had 54 people who pitched a social innovation idea. And I was so excited with what these people had presented that I offered myself as a coach based on my past experience. I have coached over 720 startups, and I've worked with over 2,000 business plans. So here was a great opportunity to work with organizations that were willing and supporting the giving back to the community.
Very well said. So it was that evidence that what you put your mind to was executed well is what inspired you to go further. And plus, it was also giving back to the community.
Absolutely.
And I understand now, especially this year, you're doing a pilot along the same lines, I think, with the youth. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Well, we're doing 2 things this year. One is we're running a community innovation hub, and that's in a spiritual institution. And the small business, nonprofits, and charities get the use of free space, free workshops, free coaching, free e-learning, and free e-mentoring. And I have a pilot in Markham, and I have 26 hubsters, as I call them, that are engaged in that. And the only requirement is that they're in the Greater Toronto area and that they give back to community. So that one is going extremely well. Our game plan is to take that model and move it into mosques, synagogues, temples, parishes, and churches. And in the next 5 years, 300 locations.
Nice.
And the second one that you just mentioned is a new program for youth where we're teaching them what social innovation and social enterprise is. and we're doing a pilot in a camp to start with. And I will explain to the youth, grades 7 to 12, what social innovation and social enterprise are. And then in teams, they will determine a problem they want to address and then come up with a solution. And they will take a piece of Bristol board and they will actually draw the problem, draw the solution, and draw their team members. And that will be the first hour. The second hour, they will be in a horseshoe format in tables, and they will come up and they will pitch their solution to the other campers and to the camp leaders. So that model we're going to take into Girl Guides and Boy Scouts and into schools. The whole objective is to have those kids go home, tell their parents that they learned about social innovation and social enterprise, and to show them what they drew in the exercise.
Amazing. It sounds like an amazing project because you're teaching them how to live in life. And I think this has to be taken to the schools as well. I mean, sometimes I find in this day and age, we feel entitled. A lot of us feel entitled to a lot of things and forget about that social responsibility. And what we learn in school sometimes becomes very theoretical. So I know we need leaders like you to bring these programs to schools. So hopefully the pilot will do amazing, it'll take off, and it will also come into schools someday. That would be an amazing, feat that can be accomplished.
And we're just looking for a couple of sponsors to help us deliver that program, and that will make a big difference.
That brings me back to a point. I heard the word free with some of your coaching. So how is that possible? It's good for the community that they don't have any obstacles in terms of finances, that they can use your services. But how is that free happening?
Part of it comes from the sale of a book that I co-authored called The Give Back Economy, which shows people how to start and operate a social enterprise and how to use corporate social responsibility. None of the royalties come to me as the co-author.
Wow.
They go to a give back fund to set up some of the community innovation hubs across Canada.
Amazing. You're such a resourceful person. We have so much to learn from you. We have to talk to you about this book. But before that, it's time for a short break. Welcome back to Spotlight. We are talking to the author of The Give Back Economy, Mr. Peter Miller. So let's delve right into your book. Tell us, you already gave us what the book is doing for the community, the sales of it, but tell us a little bit more about what the book is about.
The purpose of the book was to inform and educate and support people who have an idea, have had an idea for a long time, and they don't know how to execute or plan how to execute that idea. So the book was done with the purpose of outlining operations, marketing, teamwork, finance, all of the areas that are necessary to set up a social enterprise. And that social enterprise can be a for-profit, a nonprofit, or within a charity. So a lot of organizations can have these as a separate entity or within the organization, or run them as a separate entity. And one of the things we felt that was necessary was to have a series of forms that people could use. So as part of the book, we set up a downloadable kit of sample forms, which would make it easier for people to plan and set up their social enterprise.
Wow, you really do think outside the box, and you're making a difference with it. And it's amazing how resourceful you are, and also the fact that the royalties of the book are going back to again serving the community.
Absolutely.
Amazing. Where can people buy your book?
It's available on Amazon and Indigo for about $20. So it's not a huge expense, and that's what makes a difference. The main publisher is Self-Counsel Press, and that's who we originated with. It was one of those silly ideas where I woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I had this idea, haven't seen a book like this. 8 o'clock, I wrote an email to Self-Counsel Press, figuring it's gone into the black hole. On Wednesday, I got an email back. We love the idea, send us the first 2 chapters. At which point I was in big trouble. I'd never written a book.
But you went for it. I love this fact about you. Even though it's something you've not tried before, you're ready to, challenge yourself.
Well, fortunately, I had an associate who I'd worked with, and I called her up and I said, guess what? She said, what? You're co-author of a book. So we each took 4 chapters, and then she edited everything because she'd written a book before. And we sent it off, and we got an editor and a publicist. I had no idea what I got myself into.
Well, I tell you, you are the man of the future because you do everything instantly. You act on it. There's no doubts about what you want to go for, as long as it speaks to you, it comes from the heart, it's giving back to the community. That's amazing.
Well, it's available in ebook format too. That's the other thing that.
Well, that's for sure. It has to be in e-format also for our millennials, right? So amazing. I have to ask you, with everything that you do you have any time for yourself? You mentioned about your children, or it's all about giving back to the community?
My children are not located close, so I'll Skype or do a Zoom session with them.
There, you still do.
One daughter's a grade 3 teacher down near London. Another one's a veterinarian up in Bracebridge. And the others are in all kinds of different things. One's in cybersecurity.
Wow.
And so on. So
you're a proud father.
But I'm still the bank of parent.
You're still
the bank of parent.
Okay, still.
The ATM that gets called on a regular basis.
But you must be proud. They're all in good positions too, and you have probably instilled great values in them.
Yes.
Do they ever become part of your projects if they are close by?
No.
Okay.
Together with my wife, they all ignore me.
They let you do your thing, and you let them do their thing. But still, it goes to show that you give them the independence and let them do their thing. You do your thing, and in every way, both of you are contributing back to the community.
I'm still an advisor to them.
Yes.
And they listen about 50% of the time.
That's okay. They listen to the important 50%, and the rest, it can be fun stuff.
Right.
So there's so much to learn from you, so little time, but I would request you, for the benefit of our viewers, do you have one tip for business owners and entrepreneurs?
The most important thing is to identify a problem and then identify your solution. Don't come up with the idea first. Come up with a problem first, and then your solution is the idea that you have. The second thing that I would really recommend is that entrepreneurs, social entrepreneurs, nonprofits, and charities identify a problem that they're addressing, that there's a gap in the community, and who is impacted by that problem. And then look at their idea or their solution and figure out what it might cost and whether somebody would pay for it. So that third step is validation, that what their idea is, somebody will pay for it or somebody will sponsor. But overall, entrepreneurship is fun. There's a ton of resources available. and find a good coach or mentor who can help you make it happen.
Just like you. Where can we follow you or find more information so our viewers can follow you as well?
Okay, our website is www.communityinnovationhub.org. Or they can email me at peteramiller@rogers.com.
Well, thank you so much for coming and talking to us today, inspiring us, giving us your words of wisdom, I would say. And we wish you all the best with all the projects that you do, and we hope to chat with you another time soon.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. So that was Mr. Peter Miller, who has inspired us to be dynamic in our career path. Well, that's a wrap for this week's show. Thank you for watching us. Continue to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and write to us at spotlight@ethnicchannels.com. Until next week, this is Amitha signing off, encouraging you to think outside the box for success and progress.